Oh my goodness. You just said, do you want to resume? I didn't even have a chance to check that I had my tidied up. Hi guys. Hello, my lovely people on replay. How are you doing this lovely Sunday afternoon? Ah, man, it has been, last week was a busy week. Last week was a busy week, back-to-back work. So today, first chance for a sleep after a long time. How are you guys doing? If you're joining live, let me know where you're watching from. Let me just give people a couple of minutes to get in. Hi. Hello. Somebody's joined. Hi. Oh, somebody else is joined. Hey, where are you watching from? How are you? What is happening? Okay, guys, I'm not going to stay too long. Thank you as usual for the questions. I've got a great series or a trio of questions that we're going to tackle in today's live. Really interesting subjects, as you can see from the title. So let's just get cracking. Oh, by way of introduction, I'm so sorry. I'm here and then everywhere. I am Dr. Sylvia. I'm a general practitioner based in the United Kingdom. I am a women's health specialist. So that means I cover things like fertility, menopause, menstrual problems, everything related to women's health and sexual health and family health. I am your go-to person. So anyway, today we're just chilling. You guys know that I like to respond to your questions. Sometimes I do them with a sit-down video. Hang on, are you hearing the buzzing sound? It's my fan. Let me turn it down. So yeah, that sounds better. So hopefully you can hear me better. What was that? Yeah, you guys know that on the channel, I usually address women's health questions, women's health topics, and we've got a few interesting ones to go through today. So if you're watching this live, please give this video a like and tell me what kind of questions around the topic we're going to be talking about you're interested in, or share your comments. You're very, very welcome to do that. It's always great to hear from you. Or if you're watching from the replay and you find this useful, let me know. Or if you have your own questions, pop them down in the description, in the comment section for the video, or any other relevant video in the channel. This week in particular, or should I say last week, we were treating surrogacy. I shared a video on surrogacy. I've actually got a longer one that's going to be coming up very soon once I've got the chance to edit it. But I think it's a really important conversation given the issues that we're having around surrogacy, not just in not in countries like the UK, US, and so on, but in countries like West Africa, where it's not, surrogacy is not new, but modern surrogacy, as I like to term it, is having a few niggles here and there, and we need to really think about protecting everybody involved. So if you've not watched my video from last Thursday or Friday, please go and check it out. But look out for the longer one where I really sit down and discuss the issues. I compare UK versus surrogacy laws or regulations in somewhere like Nigeria, for example. So it's really well worth watching. Okay, let's get into today's questions. Usual disclaimer, guys, I'm a GP. I'm registered with the General Medical Council here in the United Kingdom. I do not provide you with specific advice or treatment for any individual. I can't do that on YouTube because one, I'm not your registered practitioner, and two, I don't have all your medical information that would be really useful to make the right decision. So what we do here is we have conversations, we discuss the symptoms, we talk about possibilities, and we say, hey, this is what you can go and talk to your own doctor about. These are the kind of questions you can ask. These are the kind of things you can raise with your own practitioner so that you can have well-guided conversations that will get you to the best quality healthcare that you deserve. So if you're just joining, thank you so much. Please give this video a like. I've got 11 people watching and just one like. Come on, guys, it's free. Just tap like, put your finger, put your thumb. I think if you go to the top of the of your screen on the right hand side, you see some dots, and if you click that, you see where you can put a like. So please do that. So without further ado, I've put my disclaimer, not medical advice. Let's go to the very first question, which is from Gunjan. Thank you for sending this question in. And you say, can obesity and a heavy belly cause an IUD to fall out? That is a very good question. Thank you so much for sharing it. I think it's really good because many of you, or some of you who've watched my contraception videos will know I've said, oh, if you're on the heavy side and you're looking for birth control options, especially for emergency birth control, we recommend that you have something like the copper coil. We usually say that, well, the pills are probably slightly less effective. There may be a higher chance of failure. So we say, girls, go for the coil. So it makes sense that if you are on the plus size and heavier with a big tummy, you're wondering, will it make the IUD fall out? So thank you so much. I think that's a really good question. Okay, so being overweight, yes, being overweight is a moderate risk factor for having your IUD pop out or fall out. So that is possible. But what the things that are more likely to make it happen are heavy menstrual bleeding. In fact, the studies, the research we have suggests having heavy periods and actually being younger. So being of a younger age, say in your early 20s, teens, when the IUD, when the coil is put in, those are more likely to cause the to cause the coil to fall out. So that is more of a risk factor than being overweight, but being overweight is still a risk factor. So there are some studies, which is really good, because sometimes when we're talking about these things, we don't have too many studies, but there's some good studies that found that, I'm just reading from my notes here so that we're accurate, that found that people whose body mass index, that's BMI, is between 30 and 39, and those whose BMI is above 40 have a higher chance of the coil falling out, about 1.5 times more than people who have a normal BMI or weight. Okay, so that is important. So I want to say thank you again to Gunjan for that, for this question, because it brings to mind, so what should I do as somebody who has the coil and I'm overweight, and I've not just used it because of emergency protection, it's my regular coil. Should you be worried? Should you be doing anything? And then the evidence we have is also that the coil falling out is also more likely to happen in between 5 up to 10% of people using the coil within the first year. So the first year that you put it in, the coil is more likely to fall out. If it hasn't, if you're overweight, if you're on the heavy side and you've had the coil past a year, you can still feel your threads and haven't got any issues with it, then it's less likely to fall out after 12 months. Okay, so what is it that is happening? What's the connection between the coil, which should be seated in your womb, and being overweight or having a heavy belly? I think you might ask. So just to remind ourselves, I hope you can see my model of the womb. Let me put it right in front of my face so you can see it. Okay, and just to remind you, because if you've got the coil, your doctor probably showed this to you, or you've seen the picture. So, when we put the coil in, it's supposed to sit up here, sit nicely and snugly up here at the top of the fundus of the womb, and then the what do you call it now? I can't find the word now. So it's got like 2 tails at the top, and then 1 tail that's sort of sitting downwards where the threads come through, and the threads sort of fall out like this, and the threads come out and you can feel them at the vagina. So the coil is sitting up there. If it's well positioned, that is, it's sitting up there, and then the threads, you can feel them down there. So if the coil is well sighted, in the very first place, then it shouldn't have a problem if it's nicely seated. But you can see that if you're the kind of person that has heavy bleeding, heavy periods, you can see why a heavy amount of blood might be able to push and dislodge the coil. Hi, Jenny, joining from Philadelphia. Hey, hi, Jenny Gaston. Thank you so much for joining. What's the weather like where you are? We've had a very warm afternoon here in Sheffield, where I'm based, and it's really lovely because the last couple of days, despite it being winter, we've had some really odd, funny, dull kind of days, but today we really made up for things. We've had lovely weather. So hi, thank you so much for joining. So what could affect, if you've got the 80 degrees, was it 80 degrees or 90? Wow, not too bad. At least some of us are enjoying summer. It can vary from place to place. Wow, thank you so much for joining. Right. So we're still talking about the coil and in people who are plus size and overweight. And I just want to talk quickly about why it might happen. So I've just showed you with the model where the coil will be seated in when it's properly positioned. And I was just saying that if you have heavy bleeding, that could make the coil fall out because the blood and the tissue just, sort of pushes on it, and it might just push it away. Plus the womb is contracting as well. Remember, when you're on your periods, there's also the cramping. That all that happening may cause the coil to fall out. But the thing is, when you're overweight, there may be a higher abdominal pressure, and that might also contribute to everything else that's going on and make it easier for the coil to fall out. So that's part of the reason why that might happen. The other thing, of course, is being overweight. You may have more or higher levels of estrogen, which also encourage cramping from the womb. And again, the same mechanism, which is that as it's cramping more, it could make the coil more likely to fall out. And, I showed you this very nice, simple, easy position that when the doctor is fitting your coil, if they've done it properly, the two tails at the top should just be sitting right inside there at the top, and then the long tail dangling downwards. That's how it should fit. But sometimes being overweight could make it difficult, could make it trickier to actually insert the coil and have it seated in the nice position where it's more stable. And so you may find if it's not properly fitted, it may be dangling in an awkward position that makes it easier for the coil to pop out. So those are some of the challenges that we have. But that said, remember, the chances of the coil popping out in somebody who is obese or overweight or on the plus size, that chance is high in the first year. After the first year, according to the research, it's more likely to stay. So don't go panicking. I think the principal thing would be once you've had a conversation with your doctor and it's the right method, you're both happy, you don't have any risks and so on and so forth, and it's been properly fitted by somebody who is competent. In fact, some studies recommend having the fitting under ultrasound to make sure that it's properly fitted. So assuming all that's been done, then your job is to keep checking the threads. Keep checking the threads regularly. Usually every month, we say after your periods, check that you can feel the threads. And if you ever find or worry that you can't feel the threads anymore, please speak to your doctor so that you have that assurance that the coil is there, you don't have any problems. So we have been tackling the issue around the question from Gunjan, which says, can obesity and a heavy belly cause an IUD to fall out? And I've given the answer that there is a small possibility, so it's good to be aware, but there are certain things we can do to mitigate, and you shouldn't go panicking. If you've got any concerns or feel worried about the fact that the coil might have slipped out or it's not there, please don't hesitate to speak to your doctor. But thank you so much to Gunjan. I think that was a really good question to ask. Let's get over to the next one. If you're watching, hi, thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a like. Thank you to Jenny from Gaston for popping in and sharing that she's watching from Philadelphia and having nice weather. Hope it stays nice and warm for everybody else as well. So question 2 is from Damaris. Don't you like that name? Damaris, I love your name. Not only do I love your name, I love you for sending in your question. And your question is, I'm 8 weeks pregnant with twins and have no symptoms except breast tenderness. What do you guys think? Is this normal? Asks Damaris. What do you guys think? So she's 8 weeks pregnant with twins. Congratulations. Oh, and she has no symptoms. Would you be worried? Would you be worried? So I'm wondering what symptoms Damaris is expecting. 8 weeks, so she's probably expecting to be throwing up a lot, which fair enough. Because come on, at 8 weeks, yes, your hormone levels would probably be so high that you'd feel something. Perhaps you might be having some of these niggly early pregnancy symptoms: headaches, feeling a bit lightheaded, more tired. Of course, tenderness of the breasts, nausea, vomiting, key things. And Damaris here is worried that she's not experiencing them. And I think I can appreciate that. However, Damaris, it can be normal. It can be normal. It can be normal. And we're all different. That's the first thing. Remember that some of us can have perfectly smooth No incidents, nothing, pregnancies. Oh my goodness, don't you just envy those people? Unlike some of us that you will know that we're pregnant. Hey there, Maureen. Hi, Maureen. Yes, he's saying hi. Nice to see you, Maureen. How are you doing today? Thank you for joining. Where are you watching from, Maureen? And what's your weather like? That's the question we're asking. How are you doing? Where are you watching from? So we're talking about twin pregnancy and minimal symptoms, which is not a bad thing in itself. But the point I'm trying to make is that seriously now, is that we're all different, okay? So the critical thing is she knows she's got a twin pregnancy, so clearly she's had her scan done. And she's having breast tenderness. Those are the symptoms that she's getting. So I wouldn't panic, okay? It is true that you do tend to have women with twin pregnancies who have more intense symptoms. That is very true. But again, you have to remember that everybody's different. Even your individual pregnancies are different. I'm sure women who've been pregnant, more than twice, thrice will, bear me witness. So the key thing is, what is your hormone sensitivity? Some of us can handle hormones a lot better or differently. I don't want to say better, it's just that we're different. Some people don't handle the hormones as smoothly as others, and then, might spend several weeks, nearly the entire pregnancy, vomiting, throwing up. I know I have handled patients like this that the entire pregnancy was spent almost on admission, and literally as they had the baby, back to normal, feeling their usual selves. It's so funny how the body can be. And then the other thing that is interesting to note is that in some pregnancies, you might have the HCG hormone level go up more gently or more gradually than others. So again, it's about a hormone story. It's about how your body is responding to the hormones. So please do not panic, okay? Do everything that your doctor, your midwife, your team is recommending for you to do. Avoid stress. Make sure that you're eating and drinking healthily, plenty of fruits and vegetable and fiber, plenty of water, getting enough sleep, and just looking for yourself and preparing for your babies to come, and just keeping track of your symptoms. So keep track of your breast symptoms, keep track of anything that's concerning, speak to your doctor about it. Usually we will go guided by our scans, and your scan will measure how your pregnancies are progressing, the baby sizes and all that. So don't panic per se about the symptoms. It is good to keep track of them. So it tells me that you're switched on to the fact that, hey, why aren't I feeling any more symptoms? Why aren't I having this niggle or that niggle? Keep your regular antenatal visits. Let them keep track of your blood pressures, check your blood sugars, check your urine, everything that needs to be done as they manage you in your pregnancy. Now, so not to put any alarm into the thing, but like I said, I want you to be switched on. So, if you find that suddenly you don't experience any symptoms, so let's say in another 8, 10, 12 weeks, when I would expect you to start feeling movements of the baby, like fluttering, and you're not feeling anything, then definitely I will be speaking to my midwife or my obstetrician. Or of course, if you start to experience anything like vaginal bleeding, not menstrual bleeding, vaginal bleeding, please speak to your doctor about these things, so they can arrange an urgent ultrasound scan to work out what's happening. So thank you so much, Damaris. I love your name, I love your question, but I think it's really important because we hear so many things, and this is a time when our emotions are up there, our hormones are up there, so we're worrying. We don't want you worrying. We don't want you panicking needlessly. We just want you to be switched on, asking the right questions, looking after yourself, my darling, okay? So, but it can be normal that all you're experiencing is breast tenderness. If you've had a normal scan, nothing else is going on, just keep attending your clinic visits and speak to your doctor if you've got any concerns. Thank you so much for everybody who's watching. We've done number 2 out of 3 of our questions for today's live stream. And the first one we just tackled was about an IUD falling out or popping out if you're heavy or you've got heavy belly or are overweight. Thank you to Gunjan for that question. And Damaris has just steered us through pregnancy-related symptoms, especially if you're carrying twins. So we're going to go on to number 3 question, which again is, who sent this question? Let me see. Hang on. Let's go back to YouTube. Who sent this question? Harriet. Hello, love. Harriet, how are you? Harriet says, listen, why does my stomach shake after taking emergency pills? Could I be pregnant? Harriet, I wish I had you. I wish I had you on the call to say what, how, explain. Okay, so this is. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at this. It's not. I'm not laughing at you, my dear. No, I think it's a really good question. But you know how it is. Sometimes you just hear something and you're trying to picture it, and some thinking, okay, how is your tummy shaking? So I think Harriet is talking about perhaps cramping of her tummy, presumably her womb is what we're referring to here. I don't know. And again, this is why sometimes having these conversations is about asking questions, providing information and saying, please go back and talk to your doctor if you've got any concerns or there's anything that you're not sure about. And so I always reference that. So I think that when Harriet says, why does my stomach shake after taking emergency pills? Could I be pregnant? I think she's referring to, some of us get upset tummy, cramps. These are symptoms that we know happen for some women after using the emergency pill. So whether it's the levonorgestrel, whether it is the Ella ulipristal pill, or any combination of hormones that make up the emergency pill, an upset tummy is not unusual. Cramping of the womb causing pain can happen as well. So what's going on? I've just mentioned different types of the pills. So it could happen because of the levonorgestrel, that's the progesterone pill. It can cause the cramping of the womb. All that is part of the mechanism that's trying to prevent sperm to get to the egg to cause implantation. So that is part and parcel of the job. That's the pill, the effect of the pill. And then, of course, I've mentioned it's a common side effect, upset tummy, nausea, even vomiting. Many girls, after having the pill, vomit within a couple of hours. And we say to you to repeat it because it's not gone into your bloodstream. It's just not passed into your bloodstream from the stomach. So that's a common thing that could happen after you've taken the emergency contraception pill. So does this have any effect on pregnancy? The fact that it's shaking, that your tummy is shaking, let's use that word shaking as in it means contraction of the womb or an upset tummy. So again, we're not sure because we don't have Harriet in front of us. We just have a question. And so we're just trying to understand. But the fact that it's shaking doesn't mean or render the pill less effective unless the pill, you throw it up. Unless you've thrown it up or you've not taken it at the right time and you're supposed to take it before ovulation, which is when it is most effective. So the fact that it's shaking isn't going to make it less likely to work. So that would not be why you get pregnant, because your tummy is shaking or because you have an upset tummy or because you have a cramping of the womb. There are other things that could make it more likely to fall pregnant after taking the pill, but it's not because your tummy is shaking. I don't know if I'm answering that question. So she says, why does my stomach shake after taking the emergency pill? Yeah, I think we've covered the answer. So it could be because of the effect of the hormones on the womb, or it could be the side effect of the pill, which affects your stomach, your bowel, stomach and bowel, and so causes the upset tummy. So assuming this is what you mean by your stomach shaking. So really important to remember that if the shaking tummy or the cramping, if it comes alongside vomiting and it's within 2 hours, please assume that your body has not absorbed that pill. You have to take another one. So really important, because that is what is more likely to make the pill fail. And then the other thing is, of course, about timing. I've recently shared some golden oldie. I call them golden oldie shorts because I did those videos a while ago and I just came across them and we're sort of putting them in little snippets, little clips. And one of them was talking about morning after pill timing. It's really important. So for example, let me just get the figures up so that I'm giving you the right information. So for example, if you're taking the Ella, it is 98% effective if you're taking it within the first 24 hours, and its effectiveness starts to go down. Now, Ella, you can have up to 5 days. So within 5 days of having sex, you can still take Ella. It is more effective if you take it day 1 of having unprotected sex compared to day 4 or day 5. So bear that in mind. For something like Plan B, which is Plan B, Postinor 2, those category, those are the levonorgestrel pills, and again they can be used up to within 72 hours after having sex, and the first day a lot more effective than if you waited until day 2 or day 3. So that's why timing is important, and best taking before ovulation. But regardless of where you are in your cycle, if you have the pill and you had unprotected sex and you need something to prevent an unplanned pregnancy, please take the pill regardless of whichever time that you're in your cycle. And the best option, like I always bang on about, is the copper coil. So if you can get access to that, get the copper coil. Next is Ella. Next is the progesterone containing pills. Okay. Wow, that was a quick run through. So this question was from Harriet. Harriet, darling, thank you so much for sending that question. Really appreciate your giving time to watch the videos, come up with these questions, and I hope you found them helpful. This is where we say good night for today. Guys, thank you so much for watching. To all the 35 people, it's gone from different numbers to the other. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. I hope you found one of the question and answers useful. If you didn't, remember that I do tackle questions from time to time on the channel. If you want to get a specific answer, not having to wait for me to do a video, visit AskAwayHealth.org, where I do email health information series, and I can send an email response to you. It's a paid service, but I can send a response to your question. So if you want to use that instead of waiting for a video, you're perfectly welcome to do that. Thank you so much for watching, guys. It's been lovely spending a few minutes with you. I hope this week brings you peace and blessings, progress in everything you're doing, relief from any stress, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye, darlings. Take care. Yes, we're finished streaming.